Hello, everybody. We are going to get started in about 1 or 2 minutes. We still have a number of folks that are logging in, and then we'll get started. So thanks for your patience. We'll be right there. All right, Jane, I have 1 o'clock on my clock. Are you good to get started?
Yep. Yep,
All right.
I'm ready to get started.
Hello, everybody. This is Sarah Richmond. I'm actually just gonna play the little tech support and host for this afternoon's webinar, but I have on the phone with me Jane White, who is our librarian on staff and sort of our expert on Edelweiss, particularly in how libraries and librarians use Edelweiss. And I know she's collected some questions ahead of time from a number of you, and we're also going to build in some time for your questions. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat while Jane is talking, and so if questions come up, I can respond to them or I can interrupt Jane. We do have people muted since we have a number of folks calling in from all across the country today. So definitely if you have questions, put them in chat. We'll either get to them today or we will reach out to you individually afterwards as well. So we'll make sure to get to everything. So I'm going to pass it over to Jane.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jane White. As Sarah said, I'm the Library Success Manager here at Above the Tree Line. I do have a library degree. I started off in public libraries before I switched to working for a publisher for a number of years, and now I'm really thrilled to be back working with public libraries, and especially with Edelweiss. I know that many of you are familiar with Edelweiss because you use it to find the digital review copies, but there's a lot more that Edelweiss can provide to help you with collection development. And so today we're going to climb the mountain. We're very much into mountains here at Above the Tree Line. And you can discover how Edelweiss can help you. Then I'm going to pop over to the live site and show you some of the most popular features and how to use them. Again, as Sarah said, if you have questions, please type them in the chat, and Sarah will be sure to relay those to me. And I'll make sure that I schedule some time for questions at the very end. So without further ado, I'm going to crack on. So a little bit about us. We are an independently owned company located in Ann Arbor, Michigan. In fact, these two things up here, that's our offices. Our CEO is the son of an independent bookseller and grandson of a librarian. So he really does know the book market and what needs to be done. So we're basically dedicated to helping people work better and read more. And we hope to help you make collection development easier. So our goal is to help you work better and more efficiently so that you and your patrons have, your patrons have more time to find more books and that you have more time to do other things. In fact, our platform is used by all the major publishers, which covers about 95% of the US front list. So instead of having to go through all of those catalogs, you can use Edelweiss to find new titles very quickly and efficiently. So our first subscription layer is Alpine. Alpine is available for individuals rather than at the library level. But with Alpine, you'll be able to see the sales and circulation data for over 900 independent retailers, as well as Edelweiss public libraries in the US. The Library Journal has been doing a cohort survey. I think they've done millennials, and I thought they did Gen X to show buying behavior and reading behavior for those cohorts. And there's been a strong correlation between what is selling well in the independent bookstores versus what is going to be circulating well in the public libraries. So having that information is going to be really useful for you, so you can predict what your patrons are going to be asking for. Every title you'll see has this green bar, which basically gives the sales data. And you can also toggle to regional booksellers or U.S. public libraries and narrow the time frame as far as what the sales data you're going to be seeing. So going up the mountain, our next subscription level is Basecamp. So with Basecamp, in addition to those Alpine features with the sales data, in Basecamp we integrate your ILS data into Edelweiss and assess performance compared with your peers on 4 measures of collection health across 45 different genres. All of this is presented in what we call the State of the Collection report. The report gives you these performance metrics over time, and it measures you against your peer libraries, and it allows you to drive action at the title level. So we use standard BISAC genres and compare each genre's performance so that you're looking at things and making comparisons genre by genre. Peter Drucker noted that if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And as librarians, you know that you measure everything: the number of people who walk in the door, the number of books that circulate it. And this just helps you find out how people are using the library and where you can look to make improvements. So Basecamp is giving you a tool to measure the effectiveness of your collection. And we use 4 criteria in each genre. The first is freshness, and freshness isn't how new your collection is, but rather how the books are circulating within your collection. So basically, what portion of your collection has been active? The light blue is what titles haven't circulated in 2 to 4 years. The medium blue is those books that haven't circulated in 4 to 8 years. And the darker blue is those titles that haven't circulated in more than 8 years. So it really allows you to do weeding a lot more effectively. The next measure is relevant. So of those titles that are selling well in the independent bookstore market, which ones of those books do you not own? So you can see here, in this particular instance, this library is missing 13 of the titles that are selling in more than 50% of the independent bookstores nationwide. Hit rate is what portion of those titles with a copyright date within the last 16 months that you have purchased have actually circulated. So are they circulating well, moderately well, and which titles haven't circulated at all? I always use gardening in this example. If you've purchased a bunch of new gardening books in January, they might not circulate just because people aren't necessarily interested in gardening in January if you happen to live in Michigan. But those books might circulate starting in February or March. Or you can pull those books out and do a special display and get them moving. And then we also mentioned turnover. So how many times does your collection in a particular genre turn over in any particular year? So this is what the genre assessment summary looks like. This particular one is for relevance. So as you can see, each genre is broken down, and you can see the number of titles that are in your collection. So it gives you the genre and the number of books that you have in that collection, the percentage of your collection which that genre represents, and then the range on performance. So the color dots here represent your performance, whereas the gray dots are the average library performance, so that you can kind of see where you are on average. So the State of the Collection report is going to allow you to weed out titles that are not circulating by looking at the freshness data. As you can see, if you click on this medium portion here, you get a list of those titles that haven't circulated in 4 to 8 years. So you can actually export that to a CSV file, an Excel spreadsheet. It'll include the call numbers, as you can see here. So you can actually go to the shelf and see, are those books actually on the shelf and not circulating, or perhaps they've been misshelved, or perhaps they're just missing. And then you can update your ILS data. And then you can actually go to the relevance, the hit rate, to see of those books that are selling well in the independent bookstores, which books don't you own. So maybe you get rid of some of these and you add some of these. And what you'll see here as well is it will give you the selling information in the retail market so that you can see when these come up, you can actually see how well these are circulating in the market. So viewing the state of the collection report is really easy. All you need to do is add a widget to your dashboard and it will come up here. And then we also email you a report when it has run. And you can choose monthly, quarterly, or semi-annually report options with pricing based on the number of reports you want to receive per year. So here's I'll give you a couple examples of how libraries have used this. So this is an example of a library that is around average when it comes to freshness in their collection. There are a couple areas they might want to look at, these areas here in orange, but overall they're doing pretty well. This library is doing really, really well, as you can see by all of these green dots here. It means that the library is either moderately above or significantly above average, but then there's some areas that they might want to take a look at. That being said, it could be that your particular population skews towards an older population. So this might be absolutely okay for your library. At the end of the day, all of this data is prescriptive. It's not a mandate for action. You as librarians know your population and their preference. We're just providing you data to identify possible gaps. So another great thing about Edelweiss is, again, that it's integrated with your ILS information. It gets you more insight into the catalog service views. You can see the market data and identify which titles you own, and also look at comparable titles you might want to own. All you have to do is click on comps. Finally, our highest tier is Summit, and Summit gives you that view, again, above the tree line, hence the name, to put everything in context. So with Summit, you'll be able to see at a glance the most popular titles you don't own, or do a quick collection analysis. You can also balance collections between branches by identifying those genres that might not be circulating well in one branch, but are circulating in another branch, so that you can move them over to meet your demand. This is an example of some of the lanes that you'll see. You see this is the most popular titles. Most popular not yet released titles, and it's also doing a collection analysis. It also is giving you a historical overview of whether things are getting better or worse. And finally, everyone's favorite, you can also do more customized weeding. So you can use the state of the collection report for weeding, but you can get really specific in the weeding analysis lane in Summit tier to find out what's going on, because different genres are going to have different criteria. Obviously, computer books, you might want to say, are going to be outdated maybe in 5 years instead of here, whereas something like fiction classics like, Pride and Prejudice, the outdated doesn't necessarily mean anything, but the poorly circulating you can adjust as well. And then you can use those saved filters to weed down to specific levels within your collection. And so we're going to go to the, I'm going to show you some of the things that you can do with the free version first, and then I'm going to switch over to the Basecamp Summit tier. So if any of you have an Edelweiss account, your homepage might look something like this at the beginning. So I'm going to go through a few things here. You can add widgets by clicking on this little button here to add widget. So what I'd like to point out first is if you go up to the Get Help, and there is a librarian training page, which will go over some of these things as well. It contains videos as well as the screens to read. None of the videos are longer than 10 minutes. So at the very least, if you have people that you want to introduce Edelweiss to, send them to Edelweiss 101 and 102, because it will show you how to set up your account and give you the information for the most popular features. So coming back here, the publishers list, what I would recommend that you do first is, some of you are going to have publishers that you go to all the time. For example, if you're a children's librarian, you're probably going to go to some of the more children's publishers, whereas if you're doing something that's, in psychology, maybe you want the American Psychological Association. All you need to do is just go down here and click on the little stars, and that's going to favorite those publishers. Once you've done that, you don't have to look at that again. You can just exit out and make it go away. A lot of you are going to be doing this mostly for the digital review copies. You can have more than one of these widgets on your home page. So I'm going to go to Add Widget, and I'm going to add another digital review copy widget to my home page. Because there's the books that you like to read because personally you like to read them, and then there's the books that you're required to purchase because that's what you do as part of your duties at the library. So the first thing that I'd like to introduce you to is saved filters. Saved filters is super powerful, and it's one of my favorite features in Edelweiss. Basically, you can go in and you can set up a saved filter so that it's only going to pull books that you're really interested in. So for example, if you click on where it says Edelweiss vendor and click on the little down arrow, you can actually set up a filter with any of these things. So the first thing that we might want to do is go into subject. So let's do the books that we like to read first. So if you look, a lot of these have little down arrows. If you click on the down arrow, you're going to get the subcategories underneath the main thing. So under fiction, say for example, I like to read books on animals, and I like to read classics, coming of age, books on friendship, and humorous stories. So I put all of those as pluses, but say I really don't like magical realism and medical books make me queasy. So I'm going to minus those because I don't want to see those. And what I'm also going to go and say, you know what, I want anything that has a publication date that's starting today, and I'm going to look out for books that are going to be published in the next 4 months. So now I've got my subjects and I've got my publication date, and now I just have to name it. Stuff I like. Click on Save. And now it's going to look through all of those catalogs that are currently on Edelweiss, and it's going to find the books that meet that criteria. And you can see it found 131 books. So I can go through and look through these. But what I can also do is take that and apply it to the digital review copy lane here by clicking on this little gear, click here to set, go into My Saved Filters, and click on Stuff I Like. And now this is the stuff I like, and these are the digital review copies that are available for there. And then under this one, say for example, I'm responsible for cooking books. We have a number of genre filters that are already set up so that you can actually go through those. So I'm going to go gardening. So say for example, I'm responsible for choosing gardening books for my library. I can just click on that, and now I've got, these are the books that I like that have the digital review copies available, and these are the gardening books that are coming up that have digital review copies that are available. So really powerful tool, and you can swap those in and out whenever you want. So while we're on the subject of digital review copies, there is a lane for digital review copies. So if you click over here, what this will do is it will show you how many, first of all, you can look at the time period. So this is basically the stuff that's available to download in the last 3 months. I can look for it in the last 7 days. So this is all the stuff that's been posted in the last month or the last 3 months. So I just did in the last month. And there's the ones that are available. There's 23 print review copies that you can request. There's 244 available for immediate download and 411 that are available to request. It will also tell you the requests that you've made. Those have been approved, those that are open, and those where you've been declined. A quick note about the books where you get declined. If it was up to us, we would give you every single solitary book that you ever want. Unfortunately, it's not up to us. It's up to the publishers to grant that access or not. So basically, it's up to the publicist to grant that access or not. So if you're getting denied for digital review copies, what I would suggest is, first off, go up to your profile, which is just by clicking on your name, and then make this stronger. So this is actually kind of weak. It just says, you know, I've got Customer Success Manager for Edelweiss, but that doesn't really say a whole lot. What you might want to do is, if you're at a library, you might want to say, I serve a community of 10,000 people. I also do book talks for the local high schools, and I speak to approximately X number of students per month. I also have a book blog, and I have 12,000 followers, and I'm rated as a top reviewer on Amazon. Also, put in any links to social media that you might have, because the publicists are going to take notice of that. So the stronger your profile is, the more likely that you're going to be approved for digital review copies. Also, the fact that you're a public librarian will also a lot of time get you on the pre-approved list. So just make sure that, again, when you're under your profile, that you make sure that you have you know, your account, and again, you see that I set mine for library public, and that you have that set up so that it's nice and strong for you. So if you want to set up and get the digital review copies, in order to set those books up, I will show you. Say, for example, you have a Kindle. It's a one-time setup. All you have to do is set it up once, and then my help screen doesn't work, so let's try that again. There we go. So if you have a Kindle, all you have to do is not click on that, click on that. So basically, shows you how to set up shut up your device. So if you want to request something, or if you want to download something right away, all you have to do is click on the download button, and then it's going to tell you you're downloading this in a standard format. So if you do have a Kindle, you're just going to have to do a one-time setup. So here's the link to how to set up your device. So you can click on Kindle, and what it's going to do is it's going to walk you through. And again, this is a one-time setup. So you're going to need a couple things for your Kindle. First off, you're going to need to put Kindle at AboveTheTreeline.com as an approved sender on your Amazon account. And then you're going to want to get your Kindle email address, not your regular email address, but your Kindle email address, so that Edelweiss knows to send that to you directly to your Kindle. And then the first time that you ever download something, you click on the download button. You're going to click on Change. Then you're going to change it to Kindle or whatever device you have. You're going to set that as your preferred format going forward. You're going to put in your Kindle email address, and then you're going to choose the download method. I would suggest send to email. I've chosen send to email. I've never had a problem. This part made me nervous as far as the Amazon charging based on file size. Again, I've chosen send to email. I've never had a book not appear on my Kindle within 10 to 15 minutes. And then it's going to send it directly to your Kindle. And from that point on, whenever you go to download a digital review copy, it's just going to confirm, I'm sending this to your Kindle. It's going to give you the Kindle email address, direct to Kindle, and you're going to click on continue, and you're going to be all set. It's as easy as that. Oops. So again, there's those available for immediate download, and then those that you're going to need to request. For those books that you request, again, the reason for the strong profile is that your profile is going to be sent along with your request. So if I wanted to do this one, just click on Request, Request Review Copy. So you can see it's already added my profile up here. It's added that information from my saved profile. It's including my affiliations up here, and will tell you how strong your profile is. Then you have to do one more thing, which is tell it, why do you want this? So basically you're going to say, I want to acquire this, or I'm going to advocate for this, or I'm going to review it. So just choose one, and then just say, why are you requesting this particular title? I'm going to consider this for purchase, or I'm going to use this for a book talk, or whatever you think is going to be useful. And then you just click on Submit, and that's going to be sent over to the publishers, and they're going to evaluate whether or not they'll be allowing you to download that review copy. And that is that. So So again, you can do all of that from here as well. This again is just going to bring up the stuff that is coming out. The one thing I will give you, a little helpful hint, books tend to be loaded onto Edelweiss. A lot of review copies tend to be loaded on Monday and Thursday and Friday. I did notice there was a bunch of them that were put up today. It's also a good time of the year to be doing this because all of the publishers are getting out some of their big name authors. I noticed that Danielle Steele actually had a digital review copy available for request on Edelweiss in the last month or so. So definitely take a look at, and like I said, especially Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Sometimes Tuesday, not usually Wednesday. So again, if you want to look at catalogs, you can look at the publishers' catalogs. Remember when we favorited those publishers on that first page, that's where you can just look. So rather than looking at all the publishers' catalogs, you can just click on favorites and you can see immediately what's happening with those favorites. Or you can refine this by looking at particular books or, publishers or when those dates were added. And then you can, anything that you're working on, say for example, you're in the Wiley catalog and you get called away to the reference desk. If you click on the star, it's going to put it on a work list. So that way, instead of having to try and find the catalog again, you can just go to your work list and go just right away into the catalog. You can also look at those catalogs which are most popular right now with other people and see what's happening with them. The next thing I wanted to show you was Buzz, which is my second favorite thing on Edelweiss. And Buzz basically tells you those books that are getting the most notice within the market. And within Buzz, it's particularly what I want you to show you is honors. So books that are honors books are any book that has received some kind of recognition or award or starred review in the review literature. You can set it so that it lists those things by time. So now these books are going to be anything that has received some kind of honor in the last 3 months rather than pub date. So if you notice this one, Dennis Lehane has a new book, World Gone By, and this has received an Ingram Best of the Best, an Indie Next, Kirkus starred review, Booklist starred review, and it's an LJ starred review as well. So you can see that that one's really popular. To see more information about the book, just click on this multi-directional arrow and you can go in, you can get a bibliography, you can get a summary of the book, the biography, any kind of links that the publisher might have. Looks like they created a book website for this. Marketing plans, which are useful, so you can see if the author is going to be traveling, maybe somewhere near you. The publishers always give you the key selling points. They'll also pull quotes from maybe review sources that we don't use. For example, Chicago Tribune, the New York Times, USA Today. You can actually look at peer data. Actually, no, you couldn't. That would be only available through the Alpine layer. So you can get some more information on the book that way. And then what you can also see is comparable titles that the publisher has said is there. You can see different versions of this title. So by going to Related, you'll see that it's an ebook, trade paperback, an audio CD, and it just gives you all the different versions that are available for this book. And then it will also tell you which catalog this happens to be in if you wanted to actually look to see the specific catalog of where that book is appearing. You can refine this honors by applying your saved filter. So again, if you're doing gardening or if you're doing cooking, all you need to do is click on this and apply the genre filter or your saved filter, and then it's only going to show those books that meet your criteria. And then you can go down and you can actually maybe go by category. You can actually look at stuff that's recently published. You can actually go by pub date as well if you wanted to refine it more, or if you only wanted to look at a particular honor. Say, for example, you only wanted to look at those books that have Publishers Weekly reviews. You can click on that, and now it's only going to show those. And the one thing I will tell you about the Publishers Weekly starred reviews is it's the one instance where if you click on the honor, it will take you to the actual book review that appears in Publishers Weekly. The others were, if you click on the honor, it will take you to the home page. For example, if it's an LJ, it'll take you to the Library Journal homepage. It won't necessarily take you directly to the review itself. So honors, really, really, really useful thing to see what's really happening in the library market. And again, saves you a lot of time because you can get those starred reviews without having to necessarily go through all of those review sources. And then I'd like to tell you about a new feature that we have just released, probably in July, and that is communities. Communities are places where like people can get together and either post reviews or post collections so that you can see what other people are looking at. As public librarians, everyone is automatically dumped into the Library Reads community, and you can see everything that's happening with that. And then you can see all the available communities here. So you can just go into the communities and you can click on those communities just to join them. So say, for example, you're a children's librarian. You could join Diverse Book Finder, which looks like it is a collection of 2,000 children's picture books featuring people of color and Indigenous people. You just have to click on the join button. You'll get it a little okay, and then it's going to add it to your communities. And then again, you just go down the list and you just find those books, those communities that you want to join. The other great thing about this is if you do go into your communities, we can post you can post book lists and you can see what's happening. So I'm going to go in the last 3 months for this one. You can see collections that might have been posted in that community. So if I click here, what I did is I went into the YALSA site and I actually grabbed a bunch of the YALSA lists and I created the collections for you so that you can actually use those. And so you can basically just go in here and click on it and it's going to pull it up here. And then it will show you the books that are within that. And then you can go in and evaluate those to find out whether you want them or not. The great thing is I've done all the work for you. So I've done all the ISBNs. If you want to save this, just click on copy and it will save it to your own. And if you wanted to, you could add things at that point. But this is basically the YALSA lists that I have done. So it saves you some time. And so basically go in and join all the communities you want. The other great thing, if the Library Journal, the Library Reads community. So if you want to do a review of a book, if you're getting digital review copies, I would highly recommend that you do reviews of the books. I think that the publishers pay attention to that. And reviewing is super easy. It's basically, we've changed this, so it's easy as 1, 2, 3. So basically rate it on any of the categories that make sense for that particular book. You can write a review in here if you like, and then you can share that book with your community by just clicking on the community, and it will give you a list of your communities, and you can just click the communities that you want to add it to. Or if you want to nominate it for Library Reads, this is the communities that I put with this one. And then if you wanted to nominate it for Library Reads, all you would need to do is click on this and then click Save. You'll get a confirmation that you've submitted that book for Library Reads. So any adult book that you want to submit to Library Reads, just go into Review, click on Library Reads, and click on Save, and it will automatically be nominated for Library Reads. And then, as you see what I did with this book, you can actually tag the books as well. So say, for example, you wanted to consider this for your book review club or book talk club. So you could just tag the book and just keep going as you're finding books within Edelweiss that you want to tag. And then eventually what you can do is go into tags and then just find those tags that you've actually created by just clicking on one of these here. You can create orders within Edelweiss as well. We don't provide the books themselves, but what you can do is then download those orders and send them over to Ingram, Baker & Taylor, or Brodart. All you need to do is just click on the little plus and then you just call it something. I always suggest that you put a date in so it's not as confusing. Click on Save. Click on OK. And then if you want to, all you have to do is just put in quantities there. And as you can see, it's going to be adding these up on the bottom. And then when you're ready, all you need to do is go to your orders and then click on this and then click Export Preview. And then you just choose the format. If you do Baker and Taylor, you can choose Baker and Taylor. And then what it will do is it will create the list for you. And then all you have to do is download that and then export it to whichever wholesaler you use. And all of that is available as far as anyone to any of the free versions of Edelweiss. If you have Basecamp or Analytics, I'm going to log into my other account now. So now this is the stuff that you would get with Basecamp. So with Basecamp, what you can do is, again, first thing you would do would be to add the widget under Analytics and put the State of the Collection report right on your desktop. So then once you can always look at it whenever you want. And as I showed you in the first part, there are all genres that you can look, but we also break this down to kids genres too. You can also create a customized one by doing super categories. So basically with all genres, again, it says it's 66 pages, which might seem daunting, but it's the same couple of pages repeated over and over again. The great part about this is you can create a PDF of the complete report or certain pages, so you can use them. For example, if you're at a library board meeting, you can hand those out at the library board meeting. Or you can just do this as everything is completely interactive. So if you wanted to look at your gardening books, again, you see the 4 categories here. And I can look at, these books. I'm responsible for gardening, so I want to look at those books that haven't circulated in more than 8 years. So all I have to do is click on that portion of the pie, and the books will appear here, and I can take a look at them and see what's going on. And we use something called shelf days. So this book hasn't circulated in 11,858 days, and it's basically the number of days times the number of copies. So then you can go in and look to see, is Ferns really still on the shelf, or did it perhaps, is it perhaps missing? And you can update your ILS. It'll give you month-on-month performance versus your peers. The gray bar is always the average, and then this is where you are. And again, relevance, hit rate, turnover, and any of these things are clickable. Really easy to make your way around in this to see what's going on in any particular thing. If you have multiple branches, you can use this for all branches, or you can look at specific branches. The other thing that you can do is you can see a cross-branch summary. So at a glance, you can see what's happening in those individual things. And again, it just repeats over and over again, and you can see what's happening in all the various genres. And again, it does have kids genres as well. So kids is included in all genres, but this just breaks it down a little bit more so that you can see, you can see it's broken down a lot more here, so you can really take a look at that. So that's the State of the Collection report. And then again, when you are in the paid site, you immediately get those green bars on the books that you're going to be able to see, so that you can make evaluations on what's happening. The other great thing is you can actually sort these things. So you can say, well, sold percent. I want this sorted from what's selling the best to what's selling the least. So that's a real time saver. So you could see exactly what's happening with those. And then you can, again, refine your results. So if you wanted to see only that stuff that's been published within a certain time, or if you only wanted to see specifics, so maybe you only wanted to see book lists, starred reviews, and that you want those sorted from most sold to least sold. And again, you can apply your saved filters here as well to see what's happening with those. So really useful. And then with the Summit tier, the other thing that you can do is basically click on this little pie chart, and it's going to immediately look at those books that are honors books that you own and tell you how they're circulating. We also have a link to Ingram. So if you do order from Ingram, you can basically look to see what's happening with these, and you can do one-click ordering with them, which makes life really easy as well. Back here. And then over here. And then this would be available in our Summit tier. So again, the top not yet released titles. So this is the top 100 titles across indie retailers with the publication date of today or later. And again, you're just doing pieces of the pie. So it'll tell you these books are circulating actually pretty well, or these books are circulating super well. These are the ones that are circulating best at my library. Another cool feature of Summit is you click on this little email thing, and it will have your email address here, and you can say the not yet released report that are hot. You can say that I want to receive that weekly on Monday, and you can say you want to receive 50 titles. And then what will happen is that every Monday you're going to get a really nicely formatted email that includes those books and what's happening with them. It's great that you can do that with the most popular titles as well. So if you want to know the most popular titles that are circulating at your library, all you need to do is set up one. And you can set up as many as you want. If you want to set up one for the top not yet released titles that are selling well in the indie market that you don't have, you can do that here, not owned, and then click save. And again, you'll get that email once a week with that information in it. You can look at your entire collection, or you can go to just specific parts of the collection. Again, you can set up those saved filters so that it is grabbing and will do the analysis on just those particular things. It will also do the category performance, so it's going to be looking at what's happening with your collection. You can switch to Dewey, or you can just use BISAC to see what's happening and what's circulating. We use the bookstore terms because we started in bookstores, but overstocked is basically going to be those books, those places where you have a lot of copies but not a lot of circulation, whereas understocked is going to be those books where you have a lot of circulation but not enough copies. And then you can just start, it's going to and look in those particular things to find out what's happening. So you can dig down further to find out what's happening, and you'll see that it's putting the temporary filter on. And then you can just keep drilling down to see. If you have more than one location, I talked about being able to do balancing between branches. So here I want to send books to Maine that are circulating at North. So these are unique titles at North that has at least 2 copies on hand that Maine doesn't have. So it'll be able to identify those. And then the weeding. So you can basically set up a weeding thing that says, I want to look at those books that are outdated. So right now it's set to 24 months, 25 check-ins, 5 years since publication with 1 copy on the shelf. The other thing that you could do is you can say, I want to look at things that I want to get rid of some duplicates that aren't circulating particularly well. And I've got my filter on here in business and economics. So I want those books where I have at least 3 titles in 3 copies on the shelf in business and economics that it's been 5 years since publication. And it's going to look at that criteria, and then it's going to bring those books up, and it's going to tell you how many books that you have and the lifetime circulation as well as the year-to-date circulation. So that's really, really useful to help you do the weeding. And gives you a historical overview. You can do a connection analysis. Again, I've got the business and economics, so it's going to tell me of those titles that I own in this section, which ones are not circulating particularly well, and those books that are actually circulating reasonably well. And that's Edelweiss in a nutshell. Were there particular questions? Sarah, did we get any questions? Is everyone still there?
We are still here, Jane. You know, there were just a couple questions about whether we'll have a recording, which we will. So if there's any part where you were so focused on how to go through it and want to circle back to that later, we'll send that out to everybody. Let's see if we have any others.
While I'm thinking
Here's
about
a good one, Jane. Here's one about what we call event grids. The question is, can we use Edelweiss to identify and host authors who are traveling?
Yes, you absolutely can by using those event grids. So I'm going to go into Get Help go to Librarians, and there's a whole section on event grids. So I would recommend coming here. So basically, event grids are, once again, controlled by the publishers. Edelweiss is open to the public. The event grids are not. So basically, you have to request permission from the publishers to get access to those event grids. So basically, if you have a collection at that particular publisher, by all means, send them a note and tell them you want to get access to those event grids. Otherwise, look at the Contact Us page on the publisher's website to see if you can get permission to get that. And then basically, the instructions are here on what you need to do and then how you need to use those. But definitely, once you get the event grids, it's really easy to be able to see where those authors are traveling, and it will give you the information on how to request author visits.
My experience has been, Jane, that the large publishers use event grids and Edelweiss a lot. It's their main form of planning their author tours. Smaller publishers, it just depends on them. It's not a feature that they're required to use, but it is really convenient for them, so they tend to.
Great. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, I think that's it, Jane.
All right, just one more thing. If any of you ever encounter a problem or need some additional help, you can always email support@abovethetreeline.com. We do have a free trial to Basecamp for a number of ILS providers. IIII, we have TLC, Evergreen, Koha. I'm forgetting someone, aren't I? But send me a note at Jane@abovethetreeline if you might be interested in a free trial of our Basecamp service. We're more than happy to do that. Or if you want to set up an additional demonstration for your library, I'm more than happy to do that again. So just send a note to Jane@abovethetreeline.com. And I want to thank you all for attending my webinar. I hope it wasn't too boring, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.